palatable for people as free market capitalism. I think there's a lot of overlap there. I'm not sure if it's a euphemism for libertarianism, but there's a whole lot of overlap. So some people tend to identify in that way. But yeah, what is it? The whole, that sort of genre, that sort of a bundle of rights, if you will. What does it mean to you? Like, why is it important? How you describe the way you think about things? How does it relate to Bitcoin? And how has that changed? You kind of talked about that brief on earlier as well.
Sure. No, and I appreciate that. And it comes with a lot of different components, libertarianism. So libertarianism was the primary ethos of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. This free market, laissez-faire, wealth of nations, Adam Smith mentality. I actually have the Wealth of Nations right behind me. A great book about the foundation of capitalism. But it's not by the benevolence of the baker, butcher, or brewer do we expect our dinner, but of their self-interest. Basically, what libertarianism is the idea of a smaller government, of an idealism that the free market should be the dominant force, that laissez-faire capitalism should be the dominant force, that statism is the antithesis of what freedom stands for. And it's the idea in relation to Bitcoin that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin should be free from financial institutions and nation states, which will allow for a capitalistic globalized dream where people can participate in an all-encompassing inclusive economy where states and financial institutions don't have any power. And the problem with that, in my opinion, is that it's no longer in existence because we're seeing more of a progressive mind state now with the introduction of regulation and the veneration of nation states participating in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, like El Salvador, like regulation coming in from the United States. And yes, that's great for the maturation of the market, but it's not good for its ideology. So libertarianism to me is basically small government, federalism, where states have a voice, where they're not completely over-encompassed by the federal government, where human beings have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, where the Bill of Rights are not taken for granted, where all individuals have the right to defend themselves, where all individuals have the right to the involvement of a free market without the necessity or the enforcement of the state. And not to mention, we're not talking, libertarianism is not anarchy, so I want people to understand that libertarianism does come with a form of government. It's just a lot smaller. Think about like Ron Paul type mind state. So I think libertarianism is something that's very important in the modern world because digitization has made government a lot bigger. And cryptocurrency is trying to negate that. But my fear is that it's not doing it anymore. In 2017, I felt like that was the last light of libertarianism in Bitcoin. And now it's just, how do nation states adopt Bitcoin? How do we get this market to be mass adopted? How does cryptocurrency become adopted by financial institutions? And you don't realize that by doing this, you're basically giving all this power to like BlackRock, to like Citadel, where retail investors, the free market in essence, the free market capitalists, the retail traders that are just looking to participate are going to get destroyed, and they're getting destroyed. And you see that a lot in bear markets specifically. And that's what I view libertarianism as a small government, as an emphasis on enterprise with less government oversight and maximum freedom. That's the way I could say it. Libertarianism is maximum freedom. Am I a libertarian? I have a lot of libertarian virtues. I'm not going to lie. I believe in the right to bear arms highly. As you guys see, I have a Gadsden flag in the back. Well, not right now, but because I don't want you guys to see my twin size bed. But I have I believe
gotta get the king size, man.
I know.
Gonna drop it off at your house if you don't do it yourself. He will help.
I know. I believe in the right to bear arms. I believe in freedom of speech. I despise woke culture with a burning passion. I despise this cancel PC culture. I think it's the antithesis of what the United States should stand for in the West. I believe that America and the West has gone from a free market enterprise type economy to a more corporate autocracy, similarly to the way it was in the 1890s, where government and corporations were intertwined until the antitrust laws came in. So, and especially now with the internet allows for governments to globally connect and shut down any sense of opinion. And we see that on Twitter and social media, where specific political ideologies are censored, are silenced, are shadow banned, are manipulated. So yeah, that's my view on libertarianism.
Funny enough, the government doesn't have to do a whole lot because the social media platforms are doing for them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I mean, one thing that I think can sell a lot of people on libertarianism and some of the ideas and practices and why it's, you know, healthy and useful and all this stuff is just the local view of
Yep.
you know, doing things, culture, the self-sufficient type of attitude, the real, you know, it's not the pick yourself up by your bootstraps. I mean, it can be interpreted that way too, but it's more of a, you know, self-sovereignty, being able to just not rely on, you know, the government to take care of you and all this stuff. But the local aspect, I think, is really powerful because it can, you know, when you have a large enough country, people are going to have different ideas.
Yep.
And in the United States, you can move to, if you have different ideas about taxation or about, you know, the things you enjoy and the things you want to do and the people you want to be around, you can move state to state freely. We have that. Not all the countries have that, and that's definitely a benefit for the United States. But the local aspect of letting people decide who live there in their community, municipality, all the things like that, what they want to put up with, what they want to enforce, and what they like and value is one of the most powerful things that I think you can sell people on. You don't have to be a gun nut. You don't have to be an anarchist. All this stuff. Those are just, you know, not like, it's like, you know, somebody said the other day about libertarianism. Oh, that's, you know, they all see all these like really extreme radical versions of it. And it's like, is there one version of Christianity?
No, there's not.
There one version of, yeah, it's like, you know, there's the people who are a little crazy, and there's people that are, you know, you can see it's reasonable, rational, and there's people that barely practice, and there's everything in between. So I think it gets a bad rap just because, you know, the news and everything else always shows the radical versions of it. And, you know, there's a little bit, you know, they say in every joke, there's a little bit of truth, in every different sect, there's an ideal behind it that they maybe took and either ran with too far, or maybe they got a point in certain ways too, and you got to decide that for yourself. But the fact is, you can decide that for yourself. You have freedom of speech, freedom of thought. You have personal sovereignty, and it just seems like, you know, like going back to social media, it's like the government don't even have. They're just a lot of times it just seems like they're just sitting back, like, yeah, they're kind of doing their job for us. I mean, they're doing the things that we couldn't come out and do because people would protest. But hey, don't come on the platform, you don't like it. You know, we all know powerful platforms, you know, and that's funny. That's actually an interesting intersection of libertarianism, where you could say, oh, if you don't like it, don't use the service. And that's the strong, you know, libertarian point of like, everyone has their own ability to produce what they like and kick people in and out of their service and property rights and all this stuff. But I would say that's one of the few limits. I would say there's two limits I would say in this ideal world that I would put you know, libertarian version of things. One would be moving jobs out of the country. I think the government, I'm okay with the government heavily incentivizing companies to make it in their best interest to keep jobs inside the country to help the local people, because I think that makes a healthy society. Yes. I'm okay with limitations on corporations for that type of stuff, because I think that's a good trade-off.
Of course.
Yeah, and the other one is the ability, so the censorship part. I'm okay if I woke up one day and saw on Twitter in the news or whatever that antitrust is going down on Facebook, going down on Twitter, going down on YouTube, all these different things, and they make it in a way that you have to be transparent. There has to be an appeal process for everyone, not just the people who have thousands of subs and all this stuff. And they make it and it's not the Ministry of Truth stuff, but it's like, hey, you have to treat everyone fairly and give them a chance to explain. You can't just auto ban and shadow ban and all this stuff. I'd be okay with that. So there's a couple limitations on, you know, even though it's not the, like you mentioned, it's not the all systems go, everything goes, anarchy type of stuff. There are, you know, you need a strong military. You got to believe in that. You got to protect the country. You know, they disagree on other things like universal health care and universal basic income and all this stuff too. But there are certain things that you need to provide a functional country, and I think libertarianism holds a lot of those values like very close to the heart and in a very healthy way, and that's what got me so passionate about it.
Yeah, man. And even James Madison basically said in Federalist, it was either Federalist Paper 41 or 10, I don't really remember. It basically said, because representative republicanism was really not a thing with the exception of the Roman Republic and Greek city-states. And with a country as large as the United States, with their belief of manifest destiny, there was this concept during the early colonies that a representative republic, a democracy or representative republic may not work because the country is too large. So James Madison would argue that there was a major value in state and local governments, that a government in Illinois should not be influencing the culture and government of someone in Alabama and vice versa. So I believe in that cultural right. I believe in that notion of regionalism that makes the culture of the United States so diverse and so, I would say, unique.
Yeah, it lets groups who form together thrive and become the best versions of themselves, fulfill their potential without having to be regulated out of existence, is what they would apply to a lot of businesses and things these days.
Of course.
So you mentioned too earlier, you used to think Bitcoin is more libertarian, but it's changed. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
How would you describe the changes that have happened for the past few years with it?
Sure. So you have BlackRock, you have Citadel, you have Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy, you have El Salvador adopting Bitcoin, you have multitudes of laws coming out of the United States for regulatory measures, you have the European Union now focusing on cryptocurrency, you had a law in New York I'm not sure if it passed or not, but last week banning mining. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has become a lot more centralized than it was supposed to be. It has become more along the lines, and I call this the angelic effect. When the government comes in, you said it before brilliantly, you highlighted that reliancy. There's a lot of reliancy on the state nowadays. And you're seeing that in cryptocurrency. And it's just very peculiar to me that the state usually comes in during the euphoric stage where they know when people are going to lose money, and then they start implementing things during bear markets, because then people who have lost everything, they're
at their weakest.
And they know that they can come in with their angelic wings and they can say, we're here to save you. We're here to save your retirement. But just let us tweak this a little bit. Let us a little bit of our own twist. Let us have our own CBDCs. Let us have our hold in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Let us have some reserves in this. Okay, let us make regulation, massive amounts of regulation that are coming in. Okay. And people won't care because it pumps our bags. And let's be honest, a lot of people, actually I would say everyone in here, is here to make money. But my fear is that the promise of opulence is threatening the idealism and virtues of what blockchain once stood for: decentralization, peer-to-peer interaction, the enforcement of this libertarian virtue. And I don't see that anymore. I see an ecosystem that is slowly becoming so reliant on these institutions and these nations to create a sense of adoption that the libertarian notion of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has all but collapsed. It really has. Like I really think that like the only thing that maybe would save cryptocurrency would be in respect to decentralization is DAOs. But there was just a leak 2 days ago, if you saw, that DAOs would have to register, and like come on now.
I don't think that's going to go through. I think that's a little crazy.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's a decentralized autonomous organization. If it was a cow, like a centralized autonomous organization, all right. But like that means like decentralized or autonomous organizations like Cult DAO, like Unified DAO, like all these different DAOs are going to now have to register with the federal government. Get the hell out of here. That's bullshit.
Or only be available in Singapore.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's what's going to happen. If they try to do stuff like that, like, all right, we'll just throw on some nodes in Singapore, it'll be fine, or somewhere else that's friendly to regulation. It's like they can't regulate it all like that.
They can't.
You'll just go to the place that gives you a better deal. That's what always happens.
It's very true. And I feel like the entrepreneurial spirit of America is being threatened from this regulation. I mean, I live in New York, for example. I can't use Bittrex. I can't use Binance. I can't use Binance.us. I can't use Kraken. I can use Coinbase. I can use Gemini. I can use CoinX. I can use KuCoin without KYCing, and the DEX exchanges. Shout
out to KuCoin. That's thanks for keeping that still a feature.
Yeah, man, for real. Without KuCoin, man, my options would be very, very limited.